the Warren Buffett's the annual letter, some would say that it's a must-read for every
Absolutely.
year, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But he said he was disappointed because last year his performance was, underperformed when compared to the S&P, based upon the book value. He said the rising the book value of his firm would be 14.4%, which is less than the gain of the S&P, which is like 16%.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
I think there's a lot of interesting things that are going on there. I mean, I think it's a lot of people compare Warren Buffett to the S&P because Berkshire is based in America, so you compare it to the American index. But actually, Berkshire these days is quite a global investment company. Warren Buffett's investment company operates on a global basis, and if we look at indices like maybe the global Dow or the MSCI World Index, they haven't been doing nearly as well as America. I think we have to remember that. Here in Thailand, we've seen how well the set's done. When we turn on the TV, we see how well the American index are doing. But globally, not all stock markets have been doing that well. So I think he needs to maybe cut himself a little bit of slack and perhaps stop comparing himself just to the S&P and maybe look at how he's done on a more global basis. But I also think the whole thing about the annual newsletter, the big meeting, thousands of people going to Nebraska to listen to him talk, or Omaha to listen to him talk. I think that it's all become a bit of a media circus now, and I think Buffett loves that. I mean, he's naturally a very funny man. He's a great performer. Right. But I also think that it allows him to do something that I think he's been doing for maybe the last 30, 35 years or so, and that is that. I think Warren Buffett is kind of speaking with a forked tongue. I don't think he really tells us the truth, because I don't think I think there's most people don't really understand what Warren Buffett does, and they don't understand how he actually makes the returns that he does. And he likes to project the story that's a very popular story about buying stocks, holding stocks, choosing the right stocks to pick. Sure. But actually that's not really part of the Warren Buffett success story. There's an analysis that's been done. There was a paper that was published last year by 3 researchers that actually it dissected how Warren Buffett has achieved his returns for the last, the best part of 50 years now. And it's very interesting. It's quite surprising, because it showed that there was a big change in the way that Berkshire Hathaway operated maybe about 30, 35 years ago. Before that, Warren Buffett had generated some alpha from maybe choosing particular stocks, but over the last 35 years, that's not where his returns have come from. They worked out that he only outperformed the index by around 0.1% in terms of his stock picking. Now, he's actually managed to get returns that are almost double the index overall, but a very, very small part of that comes from actually picking stocks.
So where do returns come from?
That's a really interesting question, and I think, in the investment business, you can't really go and patent a process. So, I think that the thing that Warren Buffett's done that's incredibly smart is something that he never talks about, and he actually tries to talk about something else instead, because he tries to hide this fact. And people have wondered about this for many years, but it was only when this research paper by these researchers, Frazzini and Pedersen, it was only when this came out that anybody actually really analysed it in great detail. And they went back and they looked at the 10K forms that he has to submit to the SEC in the States to show what stocks he's holding. And it was only when they analysed that they realised, you know what, most of the excess return that Warren Buffett or that Berkshire Hathaway has generated, certainly over the last 35 years, has come from one simple fact, and that is that Warren Buffett gets an awful lot of leverage. He gets access to free leverage. There are really 2 parts to what Warren Buffett does. One is that he holds a bunch of private businesses, and again, people misunderstand those. Everybody assumes that a lot of the Warren Buffett or the Berkshire Hathaway outperformance comes from the private businesses. It doesn't. They've done much, much worse than his listed company.